Okay, guys, so if you like this kind of content, give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe for the sake of the algorithm. It helps grow the channel. I did the Sawyer Clad interview yesterday. I was in the other room, so there was an echo, and I couldn't get... when I would plug the mic in on Zoom, it would mute. I couldn't hear anything he said, so I'm trying to work these kinks out. So the audio for my side is not great. His was good, and the clarity is way better. So it's better, but I'm still trying to work some kinks out. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me. Like, I have no editing or anything. It's all on me as far as the channel. So I'm doing the best I can. But the point of this video is I watched the Seth Feroce video about steroids will kill you. And I kind of wanted to give my input because Seth is 37 years old. I'm 30 years old. And we kind of have similar paths as far as what we've done. Like, he was heavy into the bodybuilding scene, IFBB Pro. Really good, like top of the game. Apparently, I didn't know this. I don't know a whole lot about him. He sustained a tricep tear, and that kind of, it sounds like kick-started things as far as him coming off everything, which is interesting because, you know, I was near the top of the game in powerlifting, you know, 772-pound squat, 463-pound bench, 871-pound deadlift. And I tore my quad. Like, I had 783 pounds on the bar to meet, and I tore my outer quad. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. Like, that was kind of the downfall after that, you know. My body started being broken down. All the injuries started accruing. I wasn't getting as good of results off the gear. And I just decided, like, you know, I want to have a family. I want to be around to see my family. And it's time to kind of change course. So that was nearly 18 months ago when I made that decision. And here I am. Because it's just like he said, you know, the injuries kind of, they lead you to that point. And then you have a family, you have a kid, you have kids, and it's just a wake-up call. You know, you don't want to kill yourself. You want to be around. Because I feel like, guys, once you hit 30, it's this point where you're just like, you reevaluate everything. Your 20s are the time to try things out, make stupid decisions, be reckless. A lot of people are that way. I'm not saying everybody's that way, but a lot of people are that way. And your 30s are when it's like, get your stuff together and figure it out, you know. I want to live into my 70s, 80s maybe. And I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we'll see. I'm doing my best. But you guys have such a gift now. Like, you know, now that we're past 2020, there's so much information out there about the downsides of steroids or like what they do to you, that kind of thing. Whereas back in like 2010, when I got into it, there was hardly any information out there as far as that, the negative stuff. You know, there weren't a lot of people dying from it. There really wasn't. So we always reference that clip from Bigger, Stronger, Faster, the movie. We're like, where are the bodies? John Romano says that because there weren't a lot of people that died from steroids. You couldn't find anything much about it. And now it's like, we're really starting to see everything come up where everybody's passing away, at least in the bodybuilding industry. You know, we haven't really seen that in powerlifting yet, but I think if we did, that would hit even closer to home. Because I think maybe the powerlifters, maybe the reason they're not dying off as much is because powerlifting hasn't been around as long. Hasn't been as big for as long. Like, bodybuilding has been big for decades. Powerlifting really just started getting on the map in the last few years. And that's part of it. You could also say, well, powerlifters don't use GH and insulin hardly at all, and let alone to the extent of bodybuilders, which I'm sure plays a role as far as the organ enlargement and that sort of thing. But Seth made a great point. He made a lot of great points. Like, when we get into these sports, we're not thinking of moderation. We're thinking of hitting the highest numbers possible in powerlifting, being as big as possible in bodybuilding. Like, we're just trying to be the freaks. Like, that's what gets, you know, that's what people want to see. People want to see all these guys pulling 1,000 pounds, 1,100 pounds, you know. Somebody's going to pull 1,200 pounds. It's only a matter of time. But the limit to which they have to push their body to is crazy. Like, when I saw Eddie Hall at World's Strongest Man in the footage, did he look healthy? Hell no, not at all. Did Thor look healthy at all when he was at the 1,100 pound deadlift and when he was winning World's Strongest Man? Heck no, not even close. They didn't look healthy at all. But that's what everybody wants to see. Like, people still, the same with me. Like Seth said this, people want to see him being a freak, being huge. People want to see me on trend. People want to see me pulling 900 pounds, throwing the bar into the ground, freaking out and cussing. Like, that's what people like. That's what they gravitate towards. And it's tough. It's tough when that's been your identity for like a period of 10 years. That's one of the main things you identify yourself as and what, you know, people know you about. You have to like re-establish an entirely new identity. So it's kind of like you have to move on to bigger and better things, and it's not over. Like I for a while had a hard time accepting that, you know, there was going to be good stuff once I kind of like toned down my lifting and not pushing the anabolics as much and stuff like that. Like this is something athletes struggle with. When you're out of the sport, like where do you go from there? When something like that is such a big part of your identity. I'm sure Seth has struggled with that as well. And it's just one of those things. But there's more to live for than just putting weight on the bar. Like, we're seeing now you guys have all the knowledge as far as how to do this as healthy as possible. I still wouldn't like condone it. But I can't say don't do it because I did it. But there's so much more information out there. Like, do it this way. You don't have to take all these, copious amounts. You can do it in a much healthier manner. So the resources are there. There's way more information out there about how to do it without, being completely reckless. Whereas back in, I remember in like 2010, it was just completely reckless. Like we were just pumping drugs left and right, like whatever we could put into our body as far as, doses and stuff like that. Because you're 20 years old too, you're 22, you're 23. Like you don't think about that. You don't think about your mortality. You think about just like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to be as strong as possible. That's all that matters. It was win at all costs. That's the true mentality back then. That's how it was. But you grow out of it. And, even seeing like my buddy Chris Hickson pass away. So that's an example in powerlifting. Chris Hickson passed away in December. And he was the same age as me. He was the same freaking age as me. So it's like, this stuff makes you realize. I lifted with that guy all the time. We were cool. We were friends. We were doing the same stuff. Not all the same stuff. We were doing a lot of the same stuff. And it's like, when do you tone it back? Like, even when I saw Dallas McCarver die at 26, like, that influenced me. Because he was obviously way bigger than me doing different stuff. But he was the same age as me. And if you can pass away at 26, that's a freaking wake-up call. I didn't think you could pass away at 26. I thought, okay, well, yeah, if you keep pushing steroids into your, like, late 30s, you could definitely pass away, have a heart attack. But 26? Heck no, I never thought that was going to be possible. So everybody's got to have an exit strategy. You guys have to have an exit strategy. If you're going to do this, you have to have an exit strategy. Have a plan. Have a plan to do this safely. Have a plan to be smart about it. Have a plan to, is it the worst thing to go time on, time off? I don't know. I know that's been argued, but I've seen guys who have tremendous results. John Hack does it, and one of my clients does it. They get way stronger. I know it's harder on the body, the ups and downs, but very mild cycles of time on, time off might not be the worst idea. And just have an exit strategy. Like, do you want to keep doing this into your 30s? If let's say you start doing this stuff in your early 20s or even, mid 20s, maybe do you want to do it more than 5 years? Do you want to do it it's up to 35, 40? Like, do you want to keep doing it? Or do you want to have an exit strategy? I think having an exit strategy is key to living longer. Like, I'm not saying to do it, but if you're going to do it, have an exit strategy. There's a time to get out of it. There's a time to back off. There's a time to find the other parts of your life, discover more. And a lot of guys, they don't think about that, but you need to have that plan in place. So that's one of the biggest things. I would, pushing this stuff into your 30s, 40s, like that's a ticking time bomb. So there's ways to do it properly. There's ways you can do it better. But overall, yeah, is it going to kill you? I'd say the harder you push it, the more likely that's the scenario. And bodybuilders are even more extreme than powerlifters. Seth brought up the point of eating all the food. Like, that's another thing. Ever since I've come off, I'm not like stuffing my face all day. I just eat when I'm hungry, literally. I'm not like, I got to eat 12 meals a day. Like, that's not good for you either. That's strain on the organs. So it's like, I just eat when I'm hungry. I'm not trying to be a certain weight. I hang around 225. I'm 6 feet tall. Like, that's still big. That's bigger than what would be healthy. Ideal health would be 180, 200 pounds at 6 feet. But, I still like to lift a little bit. Obviously, I'm not like freaking vascular and jacked out of my mind and all that anymore. But I still enjoy it. I still enjoy putting weights up, and I still enjoy having some bad foods. We all have things we trade off. We all do things that we know are bad for us, but we do them anyway. We all do this. Whether you're eating pizzas, junk food, whatever, all this, there's things that are bad for you, but you still do them because you enjoy them. It's just the trade-off. You have to decide on a personal level, what trade-off are you willing to have? What trade-off are you willing to have? Are you willing to, how much of a sacrifice are you willing to make? Because you want to enjoy life. He also said you don't want to go through life, all the people working, just a 9 to 5. That's respectable. I respect you. You work hard. I have no issues with that. But the point is, they're not getting sponsorships. They're not the ones doing it. So it's just, you have to decide what kind of sacrifice you want to make. That's the big things. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe for the sake of the algorithm. I think what I'll do in the coming days is I'll do a pros and cons of my time with steroid usage. And I'll give a breakdown of what were the cool things, what were the bad things. And, you guys make your decisions from there. That's all I can do is put the information out there as far as my experiences. And, yeah, appreciate you guys all watching. Like, the channel's grown tremendously. I owe it all to you. Thank you very much. And let's keep going.